Hello, everyone. Hope everybody is happy, healthy, and doing well. So today, the second week, we will be starting a new lecture. I will be sharing my live. Okay. So the topic, I hope you can see. Yeah. So this is today's topic, counseling psychology, the second topic for the second week. So we will be reading what is psychoanalytic personality theory. And we have also been speaking about the personalities in another previous lectures. So this is also speaking about the psychoanalytic personality theory. The psychoanalytic personality theory has been defined by the scientists or by the scientists or the professors very well, and we will be speaking how is this personality working, this personality theory is working. For example, some personalities are different from the others, and also what is small tension theory and personality structure. You can see that in the schema or on the picture that small tension small theory is working, right? So let's go psychoanalytic personality theory. For example, when we're defining that what is psychoanalytic personality theory, when a man is sitting next to the couple, next to the couple fight, when the lovers fight, and that's happening in the subway, right? And the actions which are to reduce the tensions and vary from person to person, depending on the situation. However, even if the behavior is different, the purpose is to relieve the tension in the mind. So psychoanalytic personality theory is when the couples are in it is just an example for this in order to make it understand. And when the two, for example, the two couples are fighting, or when the couple is fighting, or a husband and wife, or the boyfriend and girlfriend, they're fighting and they have a kind of disagreement at some point, and the theory which they're in any attempt, which means any attempt which is happening in order to reduce the tension between them, is depending on the situation, right? However, even if the behavior is different, the purpose is to relieve the tension in mind. So this is proposed as the psychoanalytic personality theory. And also the irrational, the blind trying to avoid tension in pain, and also the principle of pleasure, the greatest force of the three, the strong tension and discomfort. And when this need is met, right now we are starting right now, must, and the thirst, hunger, or sexual desire, right? The sexual desire also, it is depending on the personalities. So sexual desire, as we have spoken before, some certain point of age, it starts and it is working and it's becoming activated. This is also a humanly desire for the person. And also the hunger, do not trade in many situations that are difficult to meet in reality or repressed, right? So in the irrational and also the trying, for example, trying to avoid tension or pain, or the principles the principles of pleasure and the greatest force of the three, like we are said here, the irrational blind and the trying to avoid the tension, the principle of pleasures, all these three, and the strong tension or the discomfort when it is in the need. Or we may face some certain situation, for example, now, if somebody wants something now, or right now, or must, or thirst, the hunger, it depends on their desires. The superego or strict parent. So what is this superego, or strict parent. Aiming for the perfection and aiming for the perfection or the perfection, pursuing ideal rather than reality. So they are pursuing this kind of personality or strict parent or superego. They are aiming for the perfection, and the perfection only, or pursuing the ideal rather than reality, the moral norms, and good versus evil. For example, good against evil, and right and wrong, and parental values, shame and guilt for doing something which is wrong, or because of the fear of those consequences, and also checking the ID's impulses, right? Or the ID's impulses, and the super ego. What if there is no lawless heaven? What if there is no lawless heaven? And what if the superego is too strong, and a life that is cramped and lifeless? So superego is also the idea, or how if a person is having a kind of personality when they're saying that, okay, this thing should be 100% perfect, in pursuing ideal rather than reality. So many people, they are thinking the ideal thoughts, and they are not going to the reality, what the reality would be, but whatever in their mind comes, they are only thinking and pursuing those things and to happen. For example, the moral norms, like good and evil, right and wrong, and parental values, shame or guilt, and wrong consequences of the superego. So this is also called, this is also coming all from under the umbrella of superego. Now we will be speaking, what is ego mediator? The part of the personality that comes into the conduct with the real world, mediates reality with the inner instinctive need of the ID. Another moves according to the reality principles, and can delay the fulfillment of the needs or substitute for others. Personality factors that make human beings who try to move according to the ID's instinct into rational and also civilized human beings, a role that suppresses the need in a mute situation. When the ID cannot be satisfied, that forms psychological symptoms, when the ego begins and to be defeated by the ID. This is also pointing to us that when the part of the personality is that thing which comes with a contact of the real world, and what is coming in contact with the real world, the personality, part of the personality, or their imagination, or the person's ideas, imagination, they are coming with a contact with the real world, how they would be interacting. So every person has different interactions or reactions to the environment, right? And that is mediated by who? By the reality, with the inner instinctive need of the ID, and moving to the reality in principles. Psychoanalytic and psychosexual stage of the development. This is also in personality. This is also called, in personality development, this is also called another stage, or a new stage, when a person is becoming from the non-sexual part to the sexual part of their life, and divided into two parts. Personality development is greatly affected by depending on what kind of experiences you have during the first three stages, right? If we divide into three different stages, so the childhood part, the adolescence part or young part, and then after that, elder age stage of the life. Fixation and regression. We will be speaking, what is fixation and what's a regression, right? Fixation when sexual needs are overmet and undermet, and at the specific stage of the development. For example, if you give a thirsty person, just a sip of water. A person would drink, a person would drink, a person who drank enough water. It is so good. It is so good. And he would be next to Dalsim and Dalsim all the time. And regression, what is regression? Regression is a previous terminus of the regression. So if you give a sip of water to the person, and he would be always he is taking the first sip of the water, and this is called, and it is so good when he becomes the next of Dalsim all the time. And the another stage is the regression, which is the previous terminus of the regression. And the stage of development in which the fixation was previously formed, and stage of development. In our midst of regression, or the stage of the regression, right? In the stage of the development in which the fixation was previously formed, and this, as we said before, so this is the terminus, right? The terminus, it's the one thing is missing there. Regression is to the previous stage of development, and the terminus regression, the terminus regression when the stage of the development and the fixation was previously formed. This is the summary of the regression. Part number 3. When we are speaking about the process of the personality development, we are starting from the oral point of view, right? From oral. What is the oral stage? That is from the first day of birth until 1 year period. And sexual energy is mainly concentrated in the infant's oral area, like lick, suck, bite. Again, the anal stage. What is the anal stage? From the second year to 30 years old. Sexual desires are mainly concentrated in the anus, and pleasure from touching, smelling, holding stool, and defecation. So timing of potty training. Excretion. The pleasure of potty training, pleasure delay, anus fixation, anal aggressive personality, defecation, where not allowed if a person who does not care about the rules and the norms. So the anal stage, while we were speaking about the anal stage of a person, definitely a child, because the child is in the year 2 and 3 years period. So sexual desires is mainly concentrated in the anus. So all of them, because of the sexual organ which are placed and formed mainly in the pelvic area of the human body, or also in the pelvic cavity. There's some sexual organs, and like seminal vesicle, urethral gland, prostate gland of a male person are also there located, and also in the females. So vagina, inner vagina, and the outer vagina is in the parts of the pubic area. And also with holding stool and defecation, or touching, like the pleasure parts in touching for pleasure, that is starting in the age of year 2 to 3. And excretion, pleasure, potty training. Going and moving further, anal position personality. Anal position personality. Order first, stingy, and also a stubborn, obsessive personality. Penis stage. Now we will be speaking about the penis stage. What is the penis stage? From year 4 to 5 years old, the period when sexual attention is concentrated on the genital area. So in this age of a human being life, they're paying attention. These children, they are paying attention to their genital areas and experiencing that if they express your instinctive desires without hesitation, if you will be punished, like you will be punished. Learn how to coexist. And only when you give up and suppress your instinctive desire and refrain from being harshly scolded for playing with your genitals. Here we have a diagram, so we can see as a summary, for example, from the age, year number, from the first year, development of oral stage, and also in the infancy, the basic, we can read from Freud's theory, personality, and also Erikson, what they both, the researchers, what they have found. In the first 2 to 3 years is called the anal stage according to Freud, and this age is called the early childhood, which is autonomy versus shame and doubt theory. The year number 3 to 6 years old is called the genital or the phallic stage, but according to Erikson, this is the preschool age and initiative versus guilt period. And according to Freud's, the year number 6 and to 12 years, this is latency stage, which is the school age. And according to Erikson, the industrious versus inferiority life stage, it's called. From the year number 12 to 18, this is called genital stage, according to Freud. But according to Erikson, this is called adolescent or self-identity versus role confusion or role confusion. From age number 18 to age number 35, this is called continuation of genital. But according to Erikson, this is called young adulthood or intimacy versus isolation period or time. And from year number 35 to 60 years old, this is called continuation of the genital. But according to Erikson, it is called middle adulthood, productivity, and recreation, and continuation of the genitals over the age 30 years old. It is called later life, according to Erikson's, and this is called integration or despair or versus despair time. Moving further, defense mechanism. Why we are still reading about defense mechanism? Because the defense mechanism in human beings are working to provide protection for human beings, and also sometimes to want something for their desire. And the defense mechanism, which is called defensive person, when you are speaking, when you are trying to talk about an important topic, but you secretly avoid it, when you go around on the corner with the core of the story and try to say something which else, when you try to say something that get angry. So that is called the defensive mechanism of a human being. When somebody is trying to avoid some certain things because of they do not want to face, this is called defensive mechanism. Characteristics of defensive mechanism. What are the characteristics of the defensive mechanism? Activities of ego to cope with mental conflict, modifying, delaying, or replacing ID and instincts with the reality. And reality in the reaction pattern to protect oneself from being hurt by unacceptable reality is frequently called, and it's used as the successful part of the person's reality or personality that they may become. So the classification for this, for the defense mechanism, first is mechanism number 1, which is called rationalization. And rationalization is a situation when they are creating plausible reasons for behavior, and from recognized motives and characteristics, angry when pointing out at actual motive of behavior. Example number one, we will be reading here this example. I ate dinner with my mom and on the diet, but cake was for dessert. Cake was for dessert. I did not eat a lot of my dinner today. If I ate cake, I won't gain weight. These are called justification for one's claim, and also rationalization. Rationalization, justification, they're called both the same thing. Example number two, when a girl wants to buy an expensive luxury bag, is hesitant because it is too late. It is too expensive. Because if I carry this bag every day for 5 years, 5 million won, which is in 365 days for 5 years, which becomes 2,741. And this is around $2,000 or 1,000 in yeah, so 135 1. Sorry, this calculation must be done according to the to valid and also authentic source, how much it's becoming. And 5 million won, right? So 5 million won are becoming around $4,000, and it is not a very expensive. When somebody is saying that this is not very expensive, when somebody is low in cost and they're saying that this is not expensive, and they're judging for their justification, all the things are coming according to their own judgment. Oppression. What is called oppression? Oppression is pressing down to the unconscious mind of experiences that are too shocking and mindful or painful to be conscious of. Characteristics, shame, guilt, sadness, self-blame. And example number one in this account is to move back. Swan is the problem or the human being. Is he the problem, or is Black Swan the problem, or a human being? Nana of the New York ballet meets Lily, a provocative figure ahead of the casting, and the Black Swan. When a girl who meets always look like the pure or elegant swan. In her repressed sexual and aggressive desires begin to despair, begin to appear, right? In one point we have some people that they are so much focused, and also those people who are focused on their sexual desires, when it comes their time, they will be busy, and they will be thinking about the opposite gender. Projection. Thinking and acting as if one's own psychological attributes belong to others, like characteristics, right? When you have a strong feeling or desire for others that they should never have, it's like a kind of jealousy, we can say. Yeah, a lot of jealousy in one's mind, and exercising one's desire to a completely different object and characteristics, putting your intention or desires on the persons, and believing that the person has those things or desires, and not your own rely. It is not in your own self, but on the desire of a person's own wish. Example number one in this regard, and we going to example number two. Because I do not pay my taxes honestly, I believe that every person else is lying. Example number two is about speaking. When you force the person to the end the relations with you without wanting to end the relationship. Having an opposite direction that is unconscious, and the second is the oppression. Secondary, or the second point is the oppression. Like I know, I tell you that you want to break up. And with me, the example now we are going speaking about what? Example number 3. Example number 3 is speaking about when I despise me and say he despised me. Example number 4. Because I love her, and everyone else must be attracted to her. I believe that I will and I will feel jealous. So if a person is trying to hold to the idea, if he or she believes that this person must be loved by them because he is beloved to the lady, or to the vice versa, right? So this is saying the opposite. Or for example, having an idea that somebody else should align with your own thoughts. Dislocation or dislocation is the 4th one in this point, and exercising one's desire to accomplish to completely different objects regarding on the characteristics. Getting slapped in Jangno, and also in going onto Han's River, get angry. A childless person terribly loves a puppy, right? Loves a puppy. Recoil information. What are the recoil information? Behaving in the opposite direction to an unconscious wish. For example, features gives one more rice cake to the ugly child, and also the unconscious defense that you will be able to handle the situation if you admit it. Eliminating emotional discomfort by thinking rather than appearing to like him, or even though he has been abusing the thing. Regression. What is called a regression? We have the idea of regression. Refers to a return to the previous stage, or to the previous developmental stage. That is called a regression, and that was less demanding than the current stage. Characteristics in an emotional stage in which was different person, or in which was different to cope, and with the difficulties, and had to be accepted, tolerated and resolved at the present time, and behavior of a previous one or previous stage that could have been easily released from such responsibility through the regression of selected points. And the unconscious level to solve difficulties by what? By any means. Example, the following example is saying that when the mother attention is focused only on her younger sister, she herself is terrified to drink milk from the bottle, and also cancel the first action though, and also the second action of children. Mistress, or MRS, right? Denial of the painful fact and experiences without knowledge. It is called characteristics, which means I can't. The I can't statement is not used in many times, but they refer to some negative thinking minds that who are placing their trust on different things. that I cannot do that. They actually do not have trust on themselves. Cancel. Disproving or biting is unacceptable imagination and action characteristic. According to the characteristics, cancel is the first action through a second action. Do you understand? The effort to relieve one's anxiety or stress through cognitive characteristics throughout an actions to avoid desensitize emotional feelings that are too threatening or painful. This is called the desensitization of the threats that you have been following and you have been facing so much. That should be desensitized. And uses of intellectual bite, which means the intellectual abilities, right? Using their own abilities or the intellectual abilities, such as the reasoning or analyzing the situation. And also to eliminate the emotional discomfort by trying or by thinking rather than feeling. Example. Let's read and go to the examples so that we can understand it very well. This is the main original feeling. A mother abandoned me and run away. And how could that be? Sad. That situation, or that's in that situation, when a person is trying to avoid or happen, this is called the cancellation part, right? Or if he or she does not want to happen, in the cancellation part is happening after an action. Example number 2. Jujua, I grew up with a will. I grew up well without my mother, and your mother will regret it too. I absolutely understand my mother. Mustang, right? Must have the had in choice, but to know, but to make it in such a choice. What is this? What does this mean? When a person is saying, and he knows the thing that what my mother must have had with no choice, but to make it a choice, it is submission or sublimation. So redirecting instinctive needs and unbearable impulses, implies the energy into socially acceptable form. From you can help, whose use only is defensive mechanism. Finding whose else is defining mechanism. And red pills in the bottle. And another, the formation of process and psychological symptom to use is also important. There is no oppression to super ego. There is no oppression to super ego. And also there is no repression to the ego. And also the impulses that energy is socially useful. One is, you can see as a chart, one person is thinking reasonably, and another person is thinking about things which are easily misunderstood, or they can understand whatever the situation or the facts are there. Significance of the defense mechanism. When we read through today's lesson, what is the significance of today's lesson or defense mechanism? The use of the defense mechanism means that the client is sensitive to the area beginning in the prawns injury. And the use of the defense mechanism means that the client is so sensitive to be in the area defended. And also it's prone to the injury point. It means that you are approaching the part. It means that you are approaching the part. If you know the defense mechanism must often be used by the client. So this is used only by the client. You can correct the client's inappropriate coping and reacting patterns. And can you help? Who can use this? Only the defense mechanism, the red pills, right? And it only is the person's not to think about the feelings. They do not want to recognize, but they can help socially inappropriate or immature or unable to live well. The process, formation and removal and also the psychological symptoms. First, the formation of the process and psychological symptoms. The client's own best solution to the unconscious conflict presented in the interpersonal relationship or behavior. The clients show best solution to the unconscious mind and also presenting the intercausal relationship or behavior. So this is the end of the today's lecture. I hope you have enjoyed. If there is any confusion or any thoughts that we can improve our lectures, please feel free. Please share with us your points. We will welcome you, and that will be great. Thank you so much. Until the next time.